2 minute drill time. I'm Jim Monaghan along with Chris Swendeman. Monday night back at it as usual and back from spring training, Swendeman, where I got my first ever foul ball.
And you also got a little color to you.
I did get a little color. Yes, it's rapidly fading, but I got a little, at least for the time being. Yeah, my legs are almost back to complete pasty white. My face will be there shortly. I should point
Right.
out that the foul ball was from a bunch of minor leaguers that no one's ever heard about any of them, but nonetheless, a foul ball at a baseball game is a foul ball.
It doesn't make for a good story unless you embellish it a little bit. No one's
Well,
going to know. It's just me and you talking.
all right, D'Angelo Ortiz may have hit it,
Okay, we'll
which
go
is
with that.
David Ortiz's son.
Right.
He
There
was
you
young
go.
at Red Sox camp. Speaking of baseball, the big news that came out of Yankee land today, and it's not good. The
No.
American League Rookie of the Year from 2024, well, we might not see him until September.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. When you hear about the lat injury, you're automatically cringe. And I think you and I both, when we talked about it last week, we were texting while you were in Florida. And when I heard about it, I immediately, you were the first person I sent a text to. And as soon as you say lat, I mean, that is basically, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the most important muscle when in your pitching motion, aside from your arm, that is so necessary. I mean, this is, you're talking 6 weeks at minimum, maybe
Minimum.
minimum,
And all you have
and
to
that's
do is look
just,
back to 2024. Clark Schmidt with the same injury. We didn't see him until September 7th.
and they said 4 weeks originally for Clark Schmidt not to throw a ball, and he was out till September. So you're clenching your teeth and just going, oh man, this is a brutal way to start the year for a guy who had showed so much promise in his first year and rookie of the year. I mean, it's really a tough blow.
I don't think this is as big a blow to the Yankees as Heal, but DJ LeMahieu is out, and we don't know for how long. And I think they have better options at third base, to be honest with you. But boy, what a decline this guy has had. I mean, just a couple of years ago, I thought he was the most versatile player in the roster and one of the better hitters on the team.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really shocking how rapidly his decline happened. But his body just seems to be breaking down. And honestly, Oswald Peraza, I think, could do the job. Is younger. He's proven to be stable. We don't know what kind of hitter he'll be yet. I think that's the jury's still out, but he's got a great glove to him. And you know what? The Yankees could use the roster space. Maybe you eat that 30 million over the next 2 years and just say, DJ, listen, it's been a great run, but we have to move on.
You know who also might be back for the Yankees is Alex Verdugo because Jason Dominguez can't catch the ball in the outfield.
It's been brutal to watch.
Brutal. It's embarrassing. Brutal is doesn't even come close, Chris. It's an embarrassment that that guy's in a major league outfield.
Yeah, he needs some work out there to say the least. I'm being kind, I know, but as someone who coaches, I'm sure you sit there and you just go, "Oh, I teach my kids better than this." So, Verdugo is still out there, which may be a blessing and also a little concerning that someone of his caliber still hasn't been brought into a camp, but it may, prove to be a little bit of an assist to the Yankees if they need somebody towards the end of spring training and he still isn't signed.
Let's turn our attention to hockey. Both the Devils and the Rangers, of course, they've got about 22, I think, games left of the season. Devils in a playoff spot if the season were to end right now. Rangers on the outside looking in. With Friday's trade deadline coming, what do you see happening?
I think the Rangers already got going. Drury, their GM, Chris Drury, is going to be a seller. He's already shown that with the trade over the weekend with Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey going to Colorado. He's doing the right thing. This team is not going to win. Maybe if they get in, Shesterkin puts them on their back and they win a playoff round, they're not getting to the Stanley Cup. They are just not. They need to rebuild. They need to restock the draft portfolio. And that's what I think Drury's doing. And you're seeing between the Rangers and the Devils, I think, two very different approaches to this trade deadline.
Now let's go back to baseball. Pete Rose is back in the news for a variety of reasons. One, and they're both disconnected, by the way. One is President Trump has announced that he's going to give Pete Rose a pardon. And of course, this probably refers to the conviction on a couple of tax evasion problems that Rose had some years ago in the tune of a few $100,000. This has nothing to do whatsoever with Major League Baseball and whether or not Pete Rose gets into the Hall of Fame. But what we did see was Commissioner Manfred, right around the same time that President Trump made his announcement, Manfred said, we might be looking at letting Pete back. And this actually goes back to December. One of Rose's attorneys, the attorney for the estate, met with Manfred, had a conversation with him. And then just last month, one of Rose's daughters also had a conversation with Manfred. And, Chris, I can't help think that Rose did this to himself on a number of different levels. First of all, the no gambling edict in baseball has been there for more than 100 years. It has been in every clubhouse of professional baseball at every level since 1921. And it's pretty specific. It's a permanent ban, not a lifetime ban, because Pete is demised now.
Right.
It's a permanent ban. So Rose broke the cardinal rule. When confronted with it, he denied it. And he denied it for 15 years until a book came out that he wrote. Well, let's sell some copies of the book. Yeah, I did bet. I bet on baseball. He did this to himself on a couple of different occasions. Major League Baseball, the commissioner went to him and said, Pete, I'd like to work with you on this. And Pete refused to do it. So, I get it. He holds record after record after record. It's the cardinal rule of baseball. They just threw an umpire out. And he wasn't even betting. He let somebody else use his betting account.
Right.
So while I understand the desire to get Rose into the Hall of Fame, Pete did this to himself, and it is the single cardinal rule of baseball, Chris.
I get where you're coming from. And, for years I was on the fence about this. I love Pete Rose as a player, as the manager, and Charlie Hustle, the whole nine, one of my favorite baseball players of all time. There's not even a question. He did do this to himself. I will give you that. Where I started to really change it up and say, you know what? You need to get this guy, even if they never let him attend major league functions. Here's why.
Which they did, by the way, before he passed. There were a number of functions they did let him attend.
They did. Here's why, if even post, you should put him in the Hall of Fame. Once Major League Baseball teamed up with all these betting sites, I'm sorry, that opened the gate for me to go, no. Now the game has changed because, the cardinal rule, as you said, that's one thing. But once they opened it up and started teaming up with all these betting sites, all these sports bettors, they're making the money on it all of a sudden now. I'm sure they're not, saying, oh, no, we can't accept, any money for advertising from, sports betting. So once they opened that floodgate, I'm sorry, the rules have now changed and he should be in.
Speaking of sports gambling sites, this podcast might be one of the few things that doesn't have a betting partner.
Yes.
Let's get on that.
Exactly.
Swendeman, get on that.
Exactly. It's on my to-do list.
Anyway, that is the 2-Minute Drill podcast for this week. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe so we can make sure that you're with us the whole way. And Swendeman will find something to argue about next Monday.
Absolutely. I look forward to it, Jim.